Hello and welcome to Anime Animosity. We're back for another weekly anime episode review for, what week is it now? For me, it's week 5. And we're going to start, not in order, we're going to start with Bokutachi no Remake. Because why the fuck haven't you started watching the show yet, huh? Why haven't you? Get around to watching it. It's fantastic. What are you doing? Seriously, man. This episode was incredible. And if you haven't checked the show out yet, seriously, it's worth your time. Unless you don't like slice of life, which is entirely fair. You're entitled to not like slice of life. But genuinely, Bokutachi no Remake is fantastic. And next episode is going to be so good. If anything this episode laid out goes anywhere anytime soon. Honestly, I don't want to go too heavily into this episode because I don't want to spoil it for you. But seriously, this episode is incredible. And I will briefly touch on the waifus because I've been seeing this brought up. People say Shinoaki's best girl. I think not. I think Kawasagawa. But Nanako, especially this episode and last, has been in serious contention for best girl. But that's on my opinion. You know, I'm entitled to it. You can have yours. I can have mine. It's the way the world works. Anyway, with that out of the way, check out Bokutachi no Remake. Seriously, go watch it. Right now. Pause this, go watch all the episodes, and come back. Right. Anyway. Okay. So, the next show we're going to talk about is Seirei Gensouki. So, this episode, Haruto continues his journey east to Yagamo, which is where his parents are from, and arrives at a city that serves noodles, or, well, pasta, specifically, which is strange since that's a dish from his old world. But, given that the OP suggests that the blue-haired maid chick that we meet in this episode is likely a reincarnation as well, and she's the one that introduced noodles and also meat buns to this town. It's incredibly likely that she is from Haruto's world, most likely the girl who was on the bus with him. Not the little one, because we'll get onto her later, but the older one. So, after leaving, Haruto gets attacked by a young girl who is also a reincarnation. This isn't speculation, this is confirmed. And it is the reincarnation of the young girl who is on the bus with him, as we see from her dream sequence, and also mentioning Tokyo. So that is confirmed. There is nothing on that. So, yeah. The other girl is almost definitely the blue-haired girl, or potentially Celia, although I doubt it. I don't know. I just feel like it probably isn't. But yes, anyway. Haruto fights and frees the girl, who we find out is called Latifa. And she accompanies him on his journey by basically not giving him much choice but to let her come along with him. And the episode ends with them in a forest with the introduction of a wolf who does some sort of magic, which is either going to be some sort of transformation magic to become human so they can talk, or it's going to be some sort of like teleportation magic and they're going to get separated. And we're going to get some, like, stuff happening because of that. All in all, not a bad episode. Did quite enjoy it. We'll see how things go from here on out. Okay, next up is Peach Boy Riverside. And I finally know the name of the female Oni in Sally's party. It's Meki, or Carrot. I've finally gotten that written down. But yeah. So, like I guess this episode did kind of focus on Frau, but also, Meki. Or Carrot, depending on which one you want to call it. I'm going to call her Meki because it doesn't sound this fucking stupid. Where was I? Oh yes. So, I don't have a whole lot to say about this episode. It was about a vampire named Kyuketsuki, which is vampire in Japanese. So he was a vampire named Vampire, he's obviously an Oni, and his fangs are his horns, which is contradictory because they're fangs, not horns, but whatever. Now, I've seen a handful of people mentioning the lack of chronological order in the episodes coming out, how they're not in order, and yes, I can understand why people would dislike this. And it's probably most notable with episode 4, which takes place right before the story starts with when Sally first meets Mikoto and decides to go on her journey. Now, that one I can understand not happening right at the start. Simply because it's supposed to add a bit of mystery as to who Mikoto is, and what the Momotaro are, and to build up a bit more mystery on their relationship and what they are, and then give us that insight a bit later on. However, episode 5 does have quite the jarring leap in time between that point and this point, and also this point and the end of episode 3. Now, while jarring, it's still enjoyable. I don't dislike the show because of it, and I'm sure that at some point all of this will make sense. There'll be a reason for it airing out of order. Probably, maybe. I hope so. Maybe I'm being hopeful, but I do believe that this will happen to make sense at some point. Maybe. Either that, or they just felt like fucking with us when they released the episodes. Which, if they were, well, then that is a reason as to why they aired out of order, and we'll find out at the end of it, won't we? But yeah, that's my thoughts on Peach Boy and the lack of chronology in... Chronology? What the fuck am I saying? And the lack of episodes coming out in the correct order. Well, not coming out in the correct order, but jumping around in points in the story. Okay. Next up is Kanojo, which I'm going to keep very brief. So, as you're all probably aware, this show is garbage. Like it is, it's trash. But it's trash in a good way. Unlike, say, Domestic, which is trash in a burning dumpster fire of, oh boy, this is actually painful to watch, but it's kind of spicy though, kind of way. This show is just garbage, but it's so bad that it's funny, and that's why it's worth watching. It's so bad, it's good. And that's all I have to say on Kanojo. Yeah, that was all that. And now we move on to Vanitas. And again, this episode, bruh. Last episode was incredible. This episode, just as much. So the episode opens in a brilliant way. Basically perfectly after where last episode ended. And we get a small interaction between Noe and Charlatan. Which leads into Noe's past. And why he has, why he is the way he is. And we find out that he was raised by humans and has always been, well, a bit of a dumb fuck and a bit of an airhead. But anyway, so we also find out, like I said, why he feels the way he does toward Charlatan and curse bearers. That's because a boy that he used to know, called Louis, Domi's brother, was a curse bearer. And, well, you'll have seen what happened as I'm displaying a few screenshots, or if you watch the episode, because obviously this is coming out a decent, bit after the episode aired, but maybe you still haven't seen it. Maybe you're waiting to binge it. If so, there will be spoilers. They probably have already shown because I've been rambling for a little bit. I should have mentioned this earlier. I apologise. But to be fair, if you're going to episode reviews, you should expect spoilers. What am I on about? I don't apologise, but I do. But it's on you. It's partly on you. It's on both of us. We're in this together. Anyway. Now this episode felt very close in terms of feel to Pandora Hearts. With how charming and yet grim and dark and somewhat brutal it was. And it was a very, very good episode. And I'm incredibly excited to watch next episode from now a couple days or a day, depending on when you're watching this. I don't know. Well, I mean, this will be going up on Friday, but I'd stop rambling. Carry on with the reviews. Okay, so another brief one, and another one without screenshots, like Bokutachi. Genjitsu Shugi. So I only really want to touch on a few points. For example, I like how they made a point of, the first name, last name thing. I've not seen any other isekai that have mentioned that. There's like, yeah, no, it's perfectly fine, this is his name, and we'll say it the way it was said in his native land, even though we aren't from there, and we're not even from the same, universe, and we're gonna, language structure's the same over here, it's just how it is, we're gonna, and shit like that. That was a weird segment. And, of course, polygamy is perfectly legal in this world. But hey, at least they make a point about it to make a harem end, if there is one, fine. And, I mean, a lot of harem don't do this, and let's go, yeah, fuck it, who cares, we'll do it anyway. But hey, at least they brought it up and made a point about it. Yeah. Also, following from that point, I love that Aisha and the songstress lady Yuna, something like that. Fuck, I forgot her name already. Jesus. But I love how they talk as if they'll just be in that harem. They just are like, yeah, this is how it is. We're there. If this harem that will happen, we're there. What? But hey, at least when they do show the harem, they don't put Tomoe in it. They don't put the child in it. Props to that. There would have been a lot of shows that would have done that. So congratulations, you aren't degenerate. Well, as degenerate. And finally, the last point I want to touch on with Genjitsu Shugi is the whole reason everything in this episode happens is because Hakuya tells fucking Soma to take a break. And to show the people that the king is taking a break. And yet, Soma has the brilliant idea of wearing disguises so they don't know it's him on break. So it defeats the purpose of Hakuya's plan. Well then, that's how very, very big brain, huh? Albeit the disguises aren't fantastic. This is wear some spectacles and school uniforms to disguise ourselves, yes. Mm-hmm. No one would recognize the king by his distinct face and the fact that he looks Asian, probably. That might be racist. And the fact that they've seen him live broadcasted on Notch television multiple times, so they know what he looks like. And the princess of the country that they've known for a long time, yes, they just wouldn't be able to figure out that it's her. Or the fact that the Dark Elf is with them because they've also seen her live on television and she's probably the only Dark Elf in that kingdom that looks like her. But that's beside the point. Those disguises weren't effective, but also defeated the purpose of Hakuya's plan. That's all I'm going to say. We'll move on to something I wasn't actually planning to review until I finish watching the episode, so there also won't be any screenshots for this one. In Jahy-sama wa kujikenai, Jahy-sama can't be defeated. It was actually pretty good. Like, low-key, this episode was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It was really wholesome and fun. Like, honestly, yeah. I do have some questions, but, I mean, I'm smart enough to be like, yeah, this is probably just, how it is. They probably realized what's going on with Jahy before, and they don't care. Because there are people that just don't care. And with that very brief one on Jahy, well, that's it. I'm not going to review Tante this week. I probably won't touch on it very much anymore, simply because, well, it's a mystery show. I want to leave you with all of that to discover yourself, and I don't want to give you anything that could potentially ruin it for you. And with that said, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, sub, hit the bell, do whatever the fuck you feel like. I don't care. I do secretly. Go on, hit the sub. Hit the sub. Stop being shameless, self. Anyhow, I've been Animality, you've been you, and I'll catch you all next time for another video. Ta-ta for now.